So I'm going to just go right into introducing Andrew Finkelstein, who's going to be closing us out here. Andrew is, a lot of you already know Andrew. In my opinion, he is the pioneer for two things. Really, the business of law thinking and using technology for law firms. He is the pioneer for this. He's doing these things way before they're quote unquote necessary. And he's also an accomplished trial attorney. As you guys know, he runs 4 law firms and he implements his focus on the business side of law and technology use to really create future thinking and future actions in everything he touches in the industry. So I'm super honored to have Andrew on to close us out. And what he's going to be talking about today is how to future-proof your law firm. But we're going to focus in on 3 areas of a law firm. And Andrew, thank you so much for taking the time.
My pleasure.
So what we're going to go through first is the future as we see it of 3 categories of law: client attraction, case management, separate from law firm and team management. The first thing, Andrew, is client attraction. And you have some very interesting beliefs around the difference between, things being based on impression versus competence. So how do you future-proof? Let's start with this first category of a law firm. Future-proof a law firm when it comes to, first of all, what does future-proof mean to you? And then second would be, how does that look like for the next 5 to 10 years in the client attracting clients category?
I mean, this is such an amorphous topic, but I'm going to give it my best shot. I try to think as basic as possible when it comes to things like the future, because nobody can predict it, but I can rely on some past habits to kind of project into the future. Just a little bit of background. I've allowed my clients to come online and see their file since probably 1999, 2000. At first, the lawyers here were very concerned because they thought, but we exposed the process, and by exposing the process, it allows them to be more informed and educated. And with that kind of as a backdrop, I think about what is it that, and how do, because the question really is, how do you attract clients? Well, the first, that to me is step number 2. Step number 1 is, where do the clients come from? And Bill, you talked about this a little bit. They come from one of 2 places, either referrals or a direct source. In other words, they search for you. So you have to keep those 2 separate because they are separate funnels, for lack of a better word. So if it comes from a referral, whether it is a colleague or somebody in the community who knows you, and where we get the vast majority of our cases is from our existing and prior clients. Because the most expensive case to get, and when I say get, to find somebody to retain you, is that new client who knew nothing about you. So you have to have some type of advertising, marketing that costs money to deliver that potential lead to you. The existing clients, past clients, referrals, depending on your state and compensation, they usually are the least expensive. So it depends on which you are focusing on. So if you break it down separately, if you look at the ones who come to you not from referral, you have to ask, why are they, there's a little bit of an overlap. Why are they coming? They're coming to satisfy a need. And this may be heresy to the people watching this, but I always remind everybody, and lawyers get accustomed to saying, oh, this is my case. That's not accurate. It is not your case. It is your client's case. And it is the client who you work for. The client does not work for you. And that may sound so elementary and of course, but I would challenge everybody watching this to catch themselves every time somebody in your office or oh, that's my case. I have a case that. Well, it's not really, I have a case. I have a client who went through this. And by that slight modification of that change of point of view, I think will yield good returns in how you approach your marketing and attracting new clients, because I do lots and lots of focus groups on all of my significant cases, together with marketing and so on. And what I've learned is, what is it that clients really want? It's different than what lawyers think they're delivering. Lawyers think of themselves as fighters, as warriors, and I'm going to fight and be a flamethrower. That's what my clients want. Well, I've learned that what clients really want is to be educated and informed, because who is it ultimately that makes that final decision? It's not you. You do not have the authority to say, case settled. You have to lay everything out to your client. And if once you lay everything out to your client and they give you that authority, then you can do it. But don't lose sight of the fact that it is your client's case. So I've learned that clients want a lawyer who educates and informs them. And I would encourage you to think about that before they even hire you. So how do you go about doing that? And the question is, how do you bulletproof your law firm for the future? Well, what we have found over X amount of years with the internet and cell phones and everything that people can do research on, I've been practicing long enough to predated the internet. And the only way that they knew about my firm, if it wasn't from a referral, it was from some type of advertising we did, or some type of reputation, whether it's in a newspaper or a TV report or something. Other than that, they had no way of knowing about my firm. Well, now they can dive in and not just know about my firm. Years ago, I never had a prospective client talking to another prospective client. Now they can have a whole chat. They can see reviews. So you want to try to the extent that you can, be aware of all of it, but know what the client is looking for. And at the end of the day, the client is looking for a lawyer who will educate and inform them. And I would strongly recommend all the different vehicles to do it, whether it's right on your website, doing blogs, putting information about what really happens in the process, or video. I think video is really important. I'm seeing more and more clients watching videos that I've put up. And in fact, we've embedded that into our process, where before we, as a perfect example, before we explain and offer to a client on their specific case, we send them an email with a link to a video that I did that explains the process of negotiations between insurance companies and kind of what that process is, as well as liens. Everything that you can think about in your practice that you've had conversations with any client, I would encourage you to create an informative video and use that. It allows clients to be in control, because at the end of the day, that's what they want. Now, they may say, whatever you say, I'll do. Why do they say that? Simple, because they trust you. How come they trust you? People generally are skeptical of lawyers. They're not running in saying, I trust you, I trust you. Well, you have to build that trust. And there are lots of ways of building that trust. And one is through how you present yourself, not just personally when you're talking to them, but on the internet. Because now clients are doing research about you and your firm, no different than when they're trying to pick a place to go out for dinner. They're looking at the reviews, they're looking at pictures of the meals, and then they're deciding, all right, let's try this new place. One other thing I would let me just say, I don't believe that your competition are other law firms. Sure, that competition may exist for the selection, but they really have no idea how they are treated once they retain one firm over another. And it's my belief that the true competition that you have are all the other experiences that clients have with other service-oriented companies. They're comparing you, your firm, and how they're treated the same ways when they go get a haircut or order something online, when they have to connect with Apple or Amazon and how they're treated. They expect that same level of treatment when they call your law firm. And if you're not delivering that, I would encourage you to really dive in and fix it. Right? So it's not just how people will look at you, whether it's through video and that information that you're providing, but you want to know what story you're telling. Are you telling a story that's in alignment, that's consistent with what we heard Craig talk earlier about culture, about what your culture represents. And if things are not aligned between your website and how you treat people when they call, it's going to be very challenging. You have to have your mindset that when somebody calls you for the first time, that they've already done due diligence on you and your firm. And if your words are not consistent with the messaging that's on your website, you're going to have challenges in, let's use the sales term, closing that scenario. So make sure that you have alignment, and be aware of what other prior clients have said about you. You have to know what your online reviews say, and be prepared to address them head on. And a negative review is not the end of the world as long as there's some truth to it. What you want to be able to do is say how you've learned from that and improved from it. Okay. One thing that I do, and I'm a big supporter of, and technology now allows it to be done pretty easily, is to ask clients how you're doing through surveys. You need to take the time to do it isn't when you're done, because the damage is done if you haven't done a good job. The time to do it is early and often, right? So just as an example, I do surveys throughout all of my firms from that first call, and we have scheduled time frames. That first call, after particular events occur, if a case goes into suit, after a deposition or whatever it may be. And just asking broadly, how am I doing, is not good enough. You need to be specific in what that survey is. And what are you asking? And what it does is it helps support and drive the culture of your organization, whatever that may be. The culture of my organization is that we care about our clients, colleagues, and our community with care and compassion and concern. And we survey that. I want to know, are people actually delivering on our promises and on what our culture is? And if you don't know, you can't fix it. So if you, as an organization, if you grow and grow and grow, I say this only for support of the statement that I'm giving, I'm not boasting, but we have about 350 people, about 90 lawyers, 250 in support. And I'm confident that I know that they are all delivering on our promise because I ask the people they interact with. And when I find that somebody doesn't deliver on that promise, I address it right away. And everybody in the organization receives a copy of the survey that they receive, so they can see that we're asking specifically about how are they interacting with our clients. Because clients, they don't know what a good outcome is or a bad outcome is very generally, very broadly. Of course, if they lose, if you go to an extreme, but if you resolve a case, if they feel that you worked hard and delivered on all of your promises and put them in a position to make an informed, educated decision, then they're going to feel good about your representation and not hesitate to recommend a friend or a family member. So it all circles back to what I believe, what will attract clients: providing information for them to make informed, educated decisions. Okay. What is it that clients want to hear? Do they want to hear about you boasting? I have this trial, this trial, this trial, this trial. Well, if you talk trial, 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 you may be doing yourself a disservice, because no client that I've ever had, and we try a lot of cases, ever said, I want to go to trial. I can't wait to go to trial. I can't wait to testify and be cross-examined. There's not one client who wants that. So although as an attorney, I can appreciate why other attorneys say, I tried this case, this case, this case, you're actually instilling fear in your potential client, saying, oh shit, if I hire that lawyer, I'm going to have a trial. I want a resolution. So I'm not suggesting you don't talk about trials, but don't weight the trials heavier than resolutions and settlements. And at the end of the day, what are you really communicating? The client sought and obtained the outcome that they wanted, and they wanted to settle their case, and we supported them on it. So just look at it from the point of view of the prospective client, not from, because who are you talking about? Are you talking about yourself or a prospective client, right? That point of view is really important. So that's, you know, in attracting clients, I don't really have a silver bullet, other than being aware of what is out there, and you have to get out there and put stuff up on YouTube. When I go to a lawyer's website, and sometimes you go to the bottom and it says copyright 2014, and you know it hasn't been touched since 2014, what kind of message does that send, right? You have to be on top of it. So
So can we transition to case management? I just want to summarize something really, really cool. So, you know, you talked about stories, right? And three types of stories. Number one is, what stories do your results tell, which is where most lawyers stop. But then there's also the story that your online reviews tell. And then there's the story they want to hear, right? And it really comes from a place of empathy. The next big takeaway is, you know, removing the smoke and mirrors of what a lawyer does behind the scenes by just opening the hood and saying, here's what we do. And then just putting out videos on that. Huge takeaways. And I believe a big takeaway I had from that, client attraction, future-proofing your firm, is becoming an educator of the public. And I really appreciate that takeaway. The next step is...
Let me just add, because I didn't really prepare a set. I was just going to start talking, but I do want to emphasize one thing. Equally as important to accepting a case is how you reject a case, right? It's really important to reject cases that you don't want in your office, but that is a potential future client. Make sure you reject clients with dignity and information and education. Just to simply say, we won't accept your case. That's not good enough. You need to reject the case, explain why you're rejecting it, but here's the most important thing. Give them a resource to turn to. We're rejecting your case, but I would encourage you to call the Bar Association. We always give the Bar Association. Bar Association, they sell to lawyers future leads. Well, it may not be a case at my office, but the client doesn't leave feeling like you just shut them off. You want to be the resource. And I've had a lot of clients come back after we've rejected their case to simply because the way we rejected their case was a way that basically giving them the information. And that's all. I'll just keep emphasizing that. Don't think it stops in attracting clients, because if somebody had, if your messaging and however they saw it spoke to them in such a degree to call you, even though you don't take that case, they may be a future case. And you want to tell them that.
Transparency. I love it. And education for turning down cases. It really comes down to that. I appreciate that. Next, we have case management. You talked a lot when we talked before the show on third-party platforms. And you're a technology savant, I would say, in terms of how forward-thinking you are when it comes to efficiency and results around case management. So what does a future-proof law firm need to be thinking of with either scaling, getting good results through, or really dialing in their case management process for the future?
So when I started doing this, there were no case management systems, so we built one. And I at one point had an IT staff of 15. And the way that we approached it, and why I'm telling you that, because I would encourage everybody to do the same thing that I did, but you didn't have the benefit of I didn't have the benefit of all the third-party platforms. Everything I wanted to accomplish now can be done through third-party systems. And the way I always approached it was, this is what I want to happen. And then the programmers figured out how I don't know how to program. I just know what technology can do. I can't make it do it. And a perfect example, I wanted clients to be able to come in a password protected way to see their file related documents. And I wanted all of my clients, every time we scan in, we're paperless, and if you're not paperless already, you need to move to become paperless for sure. Every time we scan in a document to a particular file, if it's the type of document, a simple example is a police report, the client gets an automatic email with the document. What does that do? It enhances the client communication process of keeping them informed and educated, and they see that we're doing work, and it exposes the process to them. So if you think about what it is that you want your case management system to accomplish, I promise you there is a case management system out there that can now do it for you. And you just keep it all up in the cloud. I could talk for 5 days on case management stuff, but I'm just trying to give people some insight. When they're looking at case management, don't look at the features that they say they can do. I would encourage you, before you talk to any of them, write down a set of features that you need and you want to accomplish, and then find the system that has it. And it's out there for sure.
What are your thoughts on, so there's case management systems, but then you brought up an interesting point, interpersonal systems will dominate. What does that mean?
Well, people want individualized information, and the interpersonal system that I refer to is that you need to give bespoke, individualized delivery of technology to each of your clients. So that includes Zoom, that includes FaceTime, that includes, I give all my clients my cell phone. It doesn't bother me. And if you find that if you don't, I think you're going to go by way of the dinosaur, to be blunt. Everybody expects that connectivity. And at first I was a little reluctant. No client abuses it because I don't allow them to abuse it. I say, here is my cell phone. I'd prefer you to call my secretary direct. Here's her number. I will always get back to you within 24 hours. But if it's an emergency and you really need me, shoot me a text, call me, whatever it may be. I text with clients all the time. It's actually way easier. That level of, again, transparency and providing that information is what I believe helps clients come, repeat and come back and really refer other people to us. Just by way of background for people watching, my firm's been in existence for 62 years. We're in our 63rd year, and over 50% of my staff is with me over 20 years. Right? It's not uncommon that somebody's here 40 years. The firm was started by my dad. I'm not 62. Just, they're 40 years, 30 years. So there are people here who understand and accept the way that we practice, which is, I'm not going to repeat everything I just said. If somebody on your team isn't consistent with that, I don't care how good they are, they have to be off your team.
So it seems to me like it's so funny coming from you, because you're so forward thinking with technology. but it seems like you're emphasizing don't become technology dependent. Build your own system and let the technology supplement that. Build your own interpersonal systems with both your clients and your team, and the software, the technology is there to assist a pre-thought out strategy rather than just seeing what features some trinket has and hoping it can revolutionize your firm. The last segment we have is firm and team management, which, you know, it kind of ties into the case management side. But it seems like your number one, the biggest takeaway I've ever gotten from you, actually on my morning huddle with my team this morning, I quoted you on your positive intent belief systems, meaning when people are working virtually, assume that they're giving you their best effort. So talk to me about what is the future of firm and team management for the legal industry, you know, for people who want to actually grow a firm and not just be a sole proprietor.
So I wrote a document called Our Law Firm Way. And what are the core principles? And everybody gets it their very first day here. And what is it that we stand for? Not just for our clients and how we are in the community, but what is it that we stand for each other? And do we want to be involved in an organization where the presumption out of the box is that you're doing something in the best interest of the firm and our clients? Or is the presumption out of the box that you're here just to collect a paycheck and you'll take every shortcut possible, so I need to watch everything that you do? And very simply, I presume the first. If you are somebody who is the latter, we're going to find out and you're not going to be here very long. Okay. When I say we, it's not me. I have a core group. And then when I say a core group, there's over 150 people in that core group who all believe and accept the same principles. So it's not just my eyes on, it's everybody's eyes on. And my personal job, I mean, amongst lots of other things, is to determine who gets the privilege of staying here more than 5 years, right? I don't really, that first 5-year window, that's what is being evaluated, because people will have an opportunity to you know, satisfy their professional career goals here. I mean, and look, it's actions speak louder than words. So if you just walk around and you see somebody, I've been here 30 years, I've been here 35 years, I've been here 20 years, and everything. And to look, to get to that level, you have to understand what people really want. And it is not, I'm not discounting money at all. So when I say this, I'm not, of course, everybody wants money, but that's not what drives people to stay here and what drives people to be as committed. It's quite simple. We invest in them, and I'm saying that very broadly. I don't care what position. We invest in them when they sometimes don't see how they can invest in themselves. And it's a great privilege to be able to help people accomplish their professional goals. I do a lot of coaching, not really on law firms. I mean, I have a little bit, but I coach a lot of lawyers outside of my firm on how to handle their biggest cases. And why? Because, you know, a lot of lawyers haven't handled 7-figure, 8-figure cases, and they're a little unsure. And really all I'm coaching them on, and I tell them this up front, is I'm just coaching them on the confidence to do it the right way, right? They have the inherent skills to do it, but it's a little bit of insecurity as to what's the right move, and I won't go into all of that detail. And it's no different than your staff. If you pick the right staff, they want to succeed, but they may have a little insecurity on what does success look like, and anything you can do to help them by investing in them, I just strongly encourage it. So the law firm of the future is going to have to rely upon more and more people that you trust And how are you going to trust them? And trust is always a two-way street. I go first. That I have no problem. I'll be vulnerable and I'll trust you. And I may get screwed, and I have been screwed before, and it hasn't worked out and it doesn't feel good. But I would much rather be the one to go first and say that I trust you, that you are going to do everything that's asked, than the opposite.
Wow. So a big takeaway for me there is, complacency in a law firm can also come down to complacency in your team. That was a huge takeaway, because how you reframed it, you're always looking for who gets the privilege to work with you for 5 years and beyond. Whereas, most lawyers are looking at, how can I get away with another year with this receptionist, paying them a little bit below market rate? And are they unhappy? Are they going to randomly quit? And it's like this scarcity mentality. Whereas you're standing from a higher plane of abundance going, man, who earned the privilege to work with us longer? It's because of that core value document, however you want to phrase it, the way, right? The way. I think
it's very simple. Our law firm way. That's all it is. And I'll add, I don't want it to, I know it sounded this way, but let me expand a little bit on it a little bit more. It's not limited. The investment isn't limited to their professional aspirations, right? If you have the right people, sometimes people need some guidance in how to help outside of work. And I'm not talking about becoming a social worker and getting involved in therapy. Let me make it clear. I have a full volunteer program where we give people 2 hours a week to leave the office and go volunteer at we have to approve the organization. It has to be a not-for-profit that does good for the community, but go and give of yourself to other people, because that nourishes the soul more than anything that I could do. And when you realize that we're committed to doing that, they come back with great attitudes and so on. So that to me is an investment in my staff. So I'm not limiting it to sending them on professional education courses, or of course we do all of that.
Wow, forcing people to do charity. No, I'm just kidding.
No. It's not totally optional. I don't force them, but anybody who wants to come up and take advantage of it, they can. If they don't want to, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Andrew. I mean, unbelievable stuff. I have pages of notes here. And thank you so much for your time. I didn't know you did the coaching for lawyers who want to handle bigger cases better. Is there somewhere that some of the lawyers on this call could follow up with you about that?
Sure, you just email me, Finkelstein, ELSTEIN @lawampm.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the time, Andrew. I know we went a little over, and thank you for the amazing tips here.